Hello everyone. So as part of Analytica series, we'll be taking up a question on world history today. Okay, so the question is, there arose a serious challenges to the democratic state system between the two world wars. Evaluate the statement. This was a 15 marker. Now, the same thing that happened with post-independence happened with world history also. So what happened was, after the big bang of 2013, when four questions were asked, now we are struggling to find one or two questions from world history. Like this year they asked just a single question from world history. So should you skip it? I'll say no, because the knowledge of world history will make you understand about international relations in a very better way. And other than that also, you can write about world history content in your essay paper also. So what to do about it is like, divide it into micro syllabus, micro topics, and prepare around 250 to 300 content in each of the topics. Okay. So if you go through UPSC Mains syllabus, you'll see that the syllabus starts like 18th century onwards. So divide it into century itself, like 18th century is century of revolution. So what all happened in 18th century? Industrial revolution, American revolution, French revolution. 19th century mein kya tha? Century of change, that is rise of nation state, okay, unification of Germany, Italy, colonization, imperialism, then American Civil War. 20th century mein kya tha? World War I, inter-war phase, World War II, decolonization, Middle East crisis, all this. Then political philosophies, capitalism, socialism. Okay, now prepare 250 to 300 content in each of this, and then your world history would be ready. Now, from among these many topics also, UPSC has been concentrating on 5 main topics, that is Industrial Revolution, colonization, decolonization, American Revolution, and World War. Okay? So, like, you understand, even after preparing around 250 to 300 word content, if they are concentrating on this, matlab, iska content should be very crisp and clear with you people. Like, you can go through the questions that have been asked. I won't read it out loud now. And one more mistake that we do in world history is like, not world history only, any history topics, like we concentrate on names, facts way too much. Like, take for example this particular sentence. The French Revolution began with the Estates General of 1789, ended with the formation of French Consulate in November 1799. What was the need of remembering Estate General, French Consulate yahan pe? It was not needed, because you could have directly written the sentence like, French Revolution began by the end of 18th century and was marked by the death of thousands of revolutionaries. You could have directly written that also. So what do you understand by this is like, in history for UPSC, cause of event is very important, consequences, its impact, and interconnectivity, like ek impact ne, how it impacted another event. That is what you need to understand. So let's see, analyze how to study world history. Usually the questions are easy to moderate and based on current affairs. Like, take for example this topic. This particular question was asked in 2018. It was about endangered labor. So why 2018? Why they might have asked? Because in 2017, India celebrated 100 years of end of endangered labor system. And it was covered by major newspapers also. So that's why they had asked in 2018. So let's see why this question, like today's question, might have been asked. So the question is, there arose a serious challenge to the democratic state system. Okay, that was because many of the world today, the present times, are moving towards democratic authoritarian leaders like Brazil, Turkey. They are moving towards that, and many reports also covered this, like Freedom in the World report had covered that democracy is under threat now. So that's why, like, interrelation of topics ho gaya yahan pe. From current affairs, this thing, like you might feel ki ye international relation ka, but they have related it to world history also. So that's how you should prepare. Now let's see how to go about the topic. So the topic is, there arose a serious challenge to the democratic state system between the two world wars. सबसे पहले तो let's underline the keywords. Serious challenge हो गया, democratic state system हो गया, between two world war, and हमारा directive is evaluate. We have discussed the directive evaluate before also. So keywords पहले समझ लेते हैं, then after that directive. Directive में whenever evaluate is given, you have to see what challenges emerged, why it emerged, its impact, substantiate with examples. Okay. So let's see how to go about this answer. Okay, the question asked about serious challenges to democratic state system. Now what do you understand by democratic state system? It is like rule by people. Okay, rule by people. So what could be serious challenge to rule by people? Rise of authoritarian regimes. Exactly, like what all authoritarian regimes rose that time? Like Stalin rose up, Hitler, Mussolini, Franco. Okay, you like recall all these things. You might have read about them in NCERT also. Like, if you have not got much idea about it, but then also you could have written, like, recall during exam time. Now once you know that what all serious challenges rose, now let's see how to go about the answer. So in this particular answer, you could have drawn a rough world map and shown ki, theek hai, here communist by Stalin, Germany mein Hitler, Japan mein Tojo, Spain mein Franco. Like this, if you would have shown, it would have become an attractive answer. Now, this particular clipping I've taken from a journal in which it had compared Black Plague to that of authoritarian regimes, rising of authoritarian regimes. Like Black Plague was actually a disease which spread rapidly and it killed millions of people. Now, here it has written, map showing worldwide trend of governmental domination of liberty. So, it is showing like how authoritarian regimes was taking up human liberties itself. Okay, that's how it had compared, but I've just given this map to show how you would have drawn that in exam. So now let's see how to go about introduction. Okay, so the first one will be general introduction with basic knowledge that I have, and the second one will be with enough knowledge of like years या फिर क्या fact हुआ था interwar period में. If I have that, I'll write second introduction. So how I will go with first introduction is like interwar period, so rise in turmoil and authoritarian regimes in different part of the world, like Nazism in Germany, fascism in Italy, which challenged democratic values of equality, liberty, fraternity. We know equality, liberty, fraternity French Revolution से ही आ गया था. So that means democratic values तब से ही establish होना शुरू हो गए थे. So that was first introduction that I could have written. Now what would be the second introduction if I have fact, knowledge? Like fact हमेशा ज़रूरी नहीं है, not all the time, but you can write them if you remember them. Like interwar period, that is from 1918 to 1939, saw challenge to economic, political and social crisis. Okay, it challenged economic, social and political crisis. Then led to ultra-nationalist and totalitarian regimes in different part of the world. Okay, it challenged the Western democratic system directly. It was second introduction with knowledge that I have. So, दोनों introduction हो गया. Now let's see how to go about body. As it was a 15 marker, it is better if you give little bit background about democratic state system itself. So क्या लिखोगे? Like values propagated by American and French Revolution. What all were the values? Like men are born free, then equality, liberty, fraternity. These all were established by American and French Revolution. They were the democratic values. So what it led was establishment of democratic form of government in the first part of 20th century. This was the background. But now इसको challenge किया. Okay, something happened. What were the factors which led to rise of authoritarian regimes? Now, if you know what happened in the First World War was that when First World War got over, this Palentete, they and the opposite party, they signed the Treaty of Versailles. So, Treaty of Versailles में क्या हुआ था? Germany was completely held responsible for the war. Okay, they were asked to pay for the loss of the war. League of Nations was created as international peace organization, and the territories of Germany were taken up by these Palentete. Okay, अब कोई भी country के साथ, if any country is treated this way, they won't like it. Okay, the people will be very angry with what is happening to us. So that is the failure of Treaty of Versailles. It set foundation for the creation of Second World War. मतलब Second World War के लिए foundation ही बना दिया. Same thing with Italy. Like Italy actually joined Palentete, thinking that when the war will get over, we'll get some benefit out of it. But they were given nothing. So people there were also angry. That led to the rise of Mussolini. Okay, fascism इसीलिए rise हुआ. So that was failure of Treaty of Versailles. Now second is fear of communism. It was spreading rapidly in Russia. So now capitalists who are actually afraid of communism, they were ready to have coalition government with this Nazi party and fascism so that they can counter communist party. So Nazi in this, Hitler was actually given opportunity to form coalition government in 1933. Capitalists invited them so that they can counter communist party. Okay, failure of democratic system. We know what happens in democratic system. It is ruled by people. So for a decision to take place, everyone's yes is needed. But the interwar period was having so many issues. If any decision would take this much time, it was actually increasing the resentment of people. So it was actually failure of democratic system. People wanted a leader who will take instant decision for them for their betterment. That's how Mussolini actually rose up. Failure of League of Nations. Of League of Nations, we know it was created as an international peace organization, but it didn't work that way because for any decision to take place, it actually need unanimity. मतलब सबका हाँ जरूरी था, but it was not happening that way. So it was failure actually. And the final factor was economic depression of 1929. Up in Germany itself, what happened was unemployment skyrocketed to 22%. You can see how people will be angry with their government. Okay, so now I'll explain this in a much more lucid way. So if authoritarian regimes are like fire, okay, then Treaty of Versailles acted as a raw material. मतलब it was firewood. ठीक है? If Treaty of Versailles was a firewood, the spark was given by this economic depression. मतलब spark was given by this economic depression. Air for the fire to come up more was by fear of communism. Okay, and League of Nations, which was actually supposed to work as fire extinguisher, didn't work properly only. So the fire rose more. Okay. So now if with this example, fire ka example, you can remember all the factors. Okay. That's how the rise of authoritarian regimes happened. Now, these factors led to rise of what? Yeah, important. This was important. Like Mussolini established fascist party in Italy, because I told you how people in Italy were not happy. Mussolini rose because of that, because people supported him. Then Hitler, Nazism in Germany. Then Stalin became communist dictator in USSR. And Hideki Tojo, he became the military ruler of Japan. Okay. Now, what is the difference between fascism and Nazism? What is communism? I'll explain you. So, fascism is actually ultra-nationalist feeling. Okay, ultra-nationalist feeling. मतलब they want whole country to be in one way. Diversity मतलब चाहते ही नहीं है. Nazism is actually offshoot of fascism only, in which they give much more importance to this racism. ठीक है, इसीलिए they persecuted Jews. It's actually offshoot of fascism only, but racism was given much more emphasized. They were much more emphasized on racism. They both were, like fascism and Nazism were right wing. Okay, right wing. And communism, we know that everything will be owned by state, and it is left wing. So this was the difference between three of them. Now let's see what impact this authoritarian regime had on democratic system. First is it discredited democracy itself, like by establishing one party rule. Okay, then block freedom of speech, that is by controlling media, by propagating their own ideologies, education also, so that people will be bent towards their ideologies. Use of secret police, that is Gestapo by Hitler. He persecuted humans, that human right violation. Then weakening of parliament by banning all the opposition party. Mussolini did that. Only fascist party was allowed in Italy. Glorification of personality by Hitler. Okay, he was like, you see photos like this, he is blessing people itself. That is glorification of personality. Persecution of minorities. We know how Jews were persecuted in n number. Okay, so these were some of the impact of authoritarian regime on the democratic system. Now let's see. As it was a 15 marker, we can give argument like not only between interwar, but before war also the democratic state system was challenged. How? Through imperialism, colonialism, and even after wars also. Like many military rulers are coming up now and then in African countries, South American countries. Okay, so this type of arguments also you can give. Now let's see how to go about conclusion. There were two type of conclusions, or you can write present relevance also, or general conclusion, like how this issue of authoritarian regime led to rise of Second World War, which led to loss of n number of life and property. We understood the value of democratic system itself. Okay, that is one type of conclusion you could have given. Second is present relevance, like even after years of war, we still face the issue of the authoritarian regime, like personification of one particular leader, which happened in China, then taking control of media, everything. We can write all these examples, give example of Turkey, China, Russia. Okay, this type of present relevant type of conclusion also you could have given. So that is how we finished our answer. I've given sample answer here, both everything that we discussed, that only I've provided here for your benefit. Okay, you can note down any point if you want. It will be available in the description below also. So thank you for watching this video.